already got a rivalry with Liverpool once they won the Premier League. Or do you think there was one before they did?
There wasn't a rivalry really on the pitch as much. It was more an off the pitch rivalry. The fans didn't like each other. The fans didn't like each other, but
Liverpool set the precedent for there not being it. Liverpool tried this thing. It was very clever PR. They're the best at it. When you guys won the Centurions, I think you then retained your title. They did this thing of, we think this is the greatest Premier League team of all time. I didn't think it was at the time because I think it's more about a body of work than just points records. But Liverpool did it and they spent 2 seasons praising them. And I think it's because they felt they were eventually going to challenge you and maybe pip you to a title. And I knew back then what they were doing. They were setting the planting the seed for, well, if we can make the world say they're the greatest ever team and then we surpass them, we become the greatest ever team. And I think when you start off a rivalry with, oh, you're amazing. You know, like when girls post on Instagram and all their friends like, oh my God, Slay, oh Queen, oh you look amazing. They also say it's similar. That's what basically Liverpool and City were doing to each other in those years. It was an
awful rivalry, wasn't it?
You go, girl.
It wasn't really a rivalry on the pitch, you know what I mean? And I think City, I genuinely don't mean this as like a dig, but I think City players respected Liverpool as a club and felt like they were seriously dangerous. I still feel like City players don't fully respect Arsenal, and that's why you need to win a trophy.
How big an impact, Potsy, do you think Rodri's injury is going to have on the season? And do you think that makes Arsenal favourites now?
I don't think it makes Arsenal favourites, but it's massive for Man City. Like we saw straight away when he came off, I thought Arsenal looked the better side. I mean, certainly Man City didn't look like they did in the first 20 when he was on the pitch. I thought this could have been a hammering at one stage when Haaland got the early goal. I feared the worst. Thought they were so much better than us with him on there. And I must say, last season, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had 4 games without him and they had 1 win in 6 or something crazy like that. For me, I can clearly see that they are a worse side without him. They are absolutely over the moon that they got Gundogan back, that's for sure, because without him, they really would be screwed. They'd be playing Calvin, wouldn't they, whoever it was there before. So, look, I think they'll probably play now a double pivot of Kovacic and Gundogan. Maybe Pep will come up with some madness. Maybe LB will tell us what he thinks will happen. But they're going to miss him. He is absolutely phenomenal. He is the only player in the world, in my opinion, right now, which is absolutely guaranteed to be like, there's no debate in how good this guy is. Because people talk about Haaland in kind of disrespectful ways. Clearly the best striker in the world. Some people say, but he's not as good as Vinicius Junior or Mbappe and all these guys in terms of footballers. Rodri is hands down the best in the world, in my opinion. There's no debate in that. And they'll miss him. They will miss him. I think, if I'm honest with you, a lot of people will say that Odegaard is a miss and like that, but him being out for the whole of that season now, that is mad. And look, I think Arsenal have got to win the league now. I really do. I think Arsenal got to win the league because I think City will drop points anyway with Rodri. But now I think they will actually have some more games where they might drop some points. So I think Arsenal have to win the league. They absolutely have to win the league, man. Like, there's no excuses now. Like, I know we're out with Marino and Odegaard injuries. We absolutely have to win it. I didn't think we've done enough in the transfer window. I said that. I was quite vocal about that in the summer. But with Rodri going out, it is a huge, huge miss. But I don't know what LB thinks.
It's a miss, so like, bro, like literally the worst fucking player that could have got injured, let's be honest. And it's an ACL, and it come like what days after he was talking about like, you know, potential injuries for other playing. So it's crazy really how it's happened. But listen, it is what it is. We've had bad injuries in the past. Kevin De Bruyne last year missed half a season. Kevin De Bruyne missed a full season back in 18-19, I think it was. We played without a CDM. We've played without a striker. So, you know, we've been in these positions before where we've missed key personnel and we've still won the league. So I'm still confident we'll win the league. We really can't afford for Gundogan or Kovacic to get an injury. And this is where people get mistaken. We don't need to go to the rest of the season. We need to get to January. Because we can get to January, yeah, and things are not looking too rosy. There is a transfer window there that if we need to, we can go into the transfer window and make a purchase. So, you know, I think I've worked it out yesterday, yeah. It's like basically like 19 games, including what we've already played, Premier League games, to get to January the 1st. So we need to get to January the 1st in touching distance. We don't need to be top of the table. We don't need to be 10 points clear, 5 points clear. We need to be within 5 points of Arsenal or Liverpool, whoever's top of the table. And if we do that, we get to January. Let's make a decision. Do we need to go into the transfer market? We only spent 25 million this summer. The money's there available. Yeah, everyone's paying more and more money for the ticket prices. Everyone's paying more and more money for the merchandise these days. If we need to go and buy a player, go buy a player. Go and bring him in. So, yeah, like for me, it's obviously mad disappointing and it's going to make us weaker. There's no doubt about that. But we only need to get to January the 1st. Yeah, get to January the 1st. Let's assess where we're at. Do we need to go into the transfer market? Yes or no? If we do, go buy some.
Would you rather, LB, an ACL to Rodri or an ACL to Haaland? Would you swap for Haaland if you could?
Oh, bro, that's a disgusting question.
It is, but I'm kind of thinking, what is the biggest loss? Is my point.
You know what, bro? Because we don't have a backup striker, maybe Rodri, and we do have Kovacic and Gundogan. But yeah, that's a disgusting question. Please don't ask that.
It's horrible, man. But I'm looking at it thinking, who is the most important player at Man City? I always thought it was Rodri, but is it Haaland?
I do think it. It's a weird one because it is Rodri, but like. Because Haaland started like this on fire this season, and we don't have a backup striker.
Haaland's the only. I mean, you guys are scoring goals, but it's only Haaland that's scoring. I know, like John Stones picked up a goal, and I think somebody else got 2 other players on 1 goal. It's Kovacic has got 1, but it's Haaland's goals or basically nothing at the moment. So, do you know what's interesting? You are right. You get to January, buy the right player, and it should be okay. But I think this is where Arsenal have got to, and Liverpool. And Villa, I think they've got to look at this as a potential opportunity, not focus on City's results, but focus on trying their best to win every game between now and that January period, seeing if they can create a gap. I know you started the first 3 games of this campaign and you won without Rodri, but typically when you look at a larger body of work, I think you attain about 1.9, including those 3 games. It's like 1.9 points per game without him in the team. So whatever that I think that if he doesn't play all season and you don't get a good enough replacement, that sort of puts you towards 75 points.
Who are they going to get though, Tel? Like real talk in January.
But that's the question. It needs to be someone that's close. I mean, this is what I think you're going to have to assess is how bad the damage is, and I'll tell you why in a second. But the player has got to be able to move the needle.
It's got to be like Zubimendi or something like that, isn't it? It's got to be that level.
Yeah, Zubimendi, Bruno Guimaraes, somebody. I think it's got to be, but I also think it's got to be someone of that level because what is Rodri? 28, 29?
28.
29, depending, and this is not me wishing him poorly. That is just not the character I am. But we're talking about the reality. A player that age doing an ACL now, the medical science for that is amazing. Now you talk the stem cell stuff they can do. It's not like it was 10, 20 years ago. But he may never be the same player again because of the age that he is at. And I think City is such a well-run club, they'll be aware of that. They won't publicize it. They won't buy Zubimendi and say, well, look, it's a long-term replacement for Rodri now he's had the injury. But City will think of that. It'll be behind closed doors, and they have to because you have to protect City's future at the same time. And I think the reports are that Zubimendi regrets not leaving in the summer already.
I'd consider going and getting him. The question is, you know his release clause? Do you know release clauses? Are they only active in the summer or are they active in January?
I think they're active all the time. You just got to pay the cash up front. But that's you guys got the
50
money.
mil. I mean,
it's not even that much money. It's not that much money.
It's not. And he plays for Spain, obviously back up to Rodri at Spain, and he'll play for Spain now that Rodri's not there. So yeah, he's someone that you could go and get. You know, you don't have to negotiate. Just go pay the money. And yeah, like you say, apparently he regrets. I mean, he was always going to regret not going to Liverpool, let's be honest. You could go get him. You could take a gamble on Adam Wharton if you wanted to gamble on him, but there's no release clause, could be tricky, and there's no guarantee that he'll actually be any good because he's still well inexperienced. I don't think he was particularly great against United. So, yeah, but there are players out there, man. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if we're in a desperate situation, you've got to pay the cash. People say, oh, no, don't overpay LB because, you know, you don't want to overpay. Well, if the season's like going down the Swanee, mate, yeah, and you're looking at going like, oh, we're not going to win the Premier League, we're not going to win the Champions League. Would you rather overpay by 20 million and actually be able to win the Prem and the Champions League? Or would you rather just say, oh, you know what, we won't win anything this year because we don't overpay 20 mil?
And you're bang on. And you're bang on. Overpaying is only a problem if you're buying the wrong profile of player and you're consistently overpaying for players that are not right. You're better off, in my opinion, spending £80 million on a player that's on your list that you're going to buy anyway, getting them in the January, than you are spending £40 million on a panic buy because you just need to fill a hole. That is false. It's like when you buy crap tires for your car. Cheap is expensive. Cheap can be really expensive. So as long as it's someone you want, who's part of the plans, is already you've already got Rodri's replacements on a list, because that is how Chelsea City operate.
100%.
So it's about looking at that list and saying, who can we now go and get? And if Zubimendi's there, Guimaraes, if Wharton's there, they will all want to join Manchester City. The only thing that could be a problem in that is the outcome of the court case. And I suppose that's the only...
Yeah, but that's irrelevant, because if we get fucking relegated, then this whole Rodri conversation is irrelevant anyway.
No, I hear you, but that might be the only... Maybe it won't be the first... Again, if you were a player, it depends on what gets reported. If I was a player 1st of January and City wanted to sign me, the first thing I'd be asking my agent is, well, we've got to find out how this result's going to... Because you wouldn't want to... Well, because even if you signed a 5-year deal, they're not going to be able to keep you if it happens. So, but aside from that, yeah, I think you guys get to... But I agree with a lot of what Potsy's saying. I think Arsenal, not just Arsenal, but I think Arsenal and Liverpool and slightly Aston Villa should be putting a bit more pressure on themselves now. If you look at, historically speaking, look at the facts, City get less points without Rodri because he doesn't just do what any other... There are only 1 or 2 other DMs in the world that I think can do what he does. He's that good that you're always going to feel that when they... It's like if Haaland did get an injury. You can't replace Haaland with anybody. No one's as good as him up front. That's the problem when you've got the best players. And I think the other teams have got to try and capitalize on that, be ruthless. And if they can create a 3, 4, 5, 6 point gap in that period, then give themselves an advantage, because we know how well City end the league. So I think you guys have got to jump on that like a bitch in heat. And that's a dog reference, not a human being reference, for anyone who's wondering on there as well.